Oh man, it's freaking unbelievable. He just did it. And you're thinking, Wicked, what are you talking about? It's very simple. I've reviewed so many of these handhelds, including a lot of them from LCL. But now he brings something out that is just freaking unbelievable. And he made, in my opinion, one of the best Game Boy system you can buy for your money in 2021. So a quick introduction from who is LCL. LCL is basically a creator in China that makes like these custom Game Boys. I reviewed a couple of them back today, but LCL is in my opinion one of the best ones you can buy. It will include everything you will need, including a very nice high quality cable, and it comes with a game card. But one more to the game cards, and we'll explain why you need to have game cards for a Game Boy with a Pi inside. But the other thing you're going to get inside the kit is, of course, beside the cable and the cartridge, is a protection case for your Game Boy Pi, so you don't need to buy this separately. And the casing he is using and giving you is a very nice one. Very nice materials. Comes with a really nice zipper. But let's take a close look at this bad boy himself. But this is what all the fuss is about. And why do I mean like this? He finally did it. I will explain you later on in this video what I mean with this. So first of all, the thing feels like a real quality Game Boy Classic, even weighs a little bit heavier. We'll do it like a quick side-by-side comparison later on in this video too. But in short, like I'm going to get this pinkish red color. I do like it, and I had a previous model, the Pi4, and I was really excited about it, that they released one with the Raspberry Pi 4. But now we're going to get the potential to play a lot of games that we couldn't with the previous model. But what they're doing, getting some aftermarket shells, and the quality of these are just excellent. And of course they're going to give this thing a freaking overhaul with a joystick and some extra buttons and other great features. It's a lot of work to make these things. That is also the reason one of these Game Boys to get are very expensive. And they are not produced in a factory, they are produced by one single person. But doing like weight comparison, let's add the cartridge itself. And of course, let's grab ourselves 4 batteries, because the Raspberry Pi 4 also have batteries inside. So I think that is just a fair side-by-side comparison when it comes to the weight. I'm so curious, and I just wanted to show you what's the difference between the two Game Boys now. The original Game Boy weighs in total with cartridge and battery 336 grams. But when you're looking at the Game Boy Pi now, it weighs 358. And here we can see that there is not a lot of big difference with the original Game Boy. And in my opinion, it's just quite interesting, because we have so much more parts. But when you're going to put them side by side, even with the weight, you can see like there is not a big of a difference. So you will going to get the same experience when it comes with the old Game Boy. But now we're having so many better features in combination with the Raspberry Pi 4. When it comes to emulation, we can do even more than the previous model. So another thing I really like about this device is the way how it feels. The D-pad feels quite nice, and of course the buttons is the same thing. But I must say that I did notice like there is a minor difference between the AB and these, and the reason why, because slightly higher than the AB of course. The analog stick is let's say comparable with a PS Vita, and this is a high quality one. And over here we're going to select the start, the rubbery buttons like with the original Game Boy. At the right we're going to get a USB port, so you can connect an USB hub or a controller, and here we're going to get the HDMI out function, because you can use this thing like a freaking game machine. So at the left side we're going to get the Type-C for charging, and it is not a contrast this time or the display configuration. Nope, we can change out the volume control on the left side with this scrolling wheel, or better said, the wheel goes up and down. So that's what you're going to get on this side. There are different versions out there. I got myself the one with the 2 extra buttons. Super convenient if you want to play some, let's say later on systems that just need more than 6 buttons. We can open up the hatch over here. Here we're going to get the battery inside. It's a big one, and it'll give you a couple of hours of playtime. But let's take a close look at the cartridge slot, because this is a really cool feature. Okay, over here we're going to get the on and off switch. And the on and off switch is like with the original Game Boy. When you close it, you cannot pull out the cartridge. And the reason why is very simple. So back in the day, you can just replace your games, of course. And if you're going to turn it on, you can't do that anymore. But the reason why, otherwise you're going to get messed up games, because it's just basically reading the cartridge itself. But with the Pi version, it's basically the same story. Because what you can do with this is very cool. You're going to get ourselves an extra cartridge. This one comes with a recall box, and you can here install RetroPie. So basically what you can do is like bring multiple cards with you, add your programs, games and whatsoever, or operating system, and you can just switch it out like an original game back in the 90s. How freaking cool is that? Booting up is fairly easy. You just turn it on like with an original Game Boy and it will boot up. The boot sequence depends what kind of software you're running, how big the SD card is, but within, say, a couple of minutes you're going to get a booted out system and we can play some games. When it comes to the display itself, we're going to get not a very big display, but this 3.5 inch beautiful IPS display looks amazing and it is very colorful and vibrant. And that is something you see with a lot of these devices, but especially with the LCL. So far I know we always use like high quality LCD displays. But if you compare this with the Raspberry Pi 3, with the Raspberry Pi 4, we're going to get a lot of more of the same. But especially when it comes to Dreamcast, PlayStation Portable, I will show you in this video, and 64, we're going to get way better performance. Some of the system will not have like the perfect performance, but it's still way better than the Pi 3. And here you can see that it even supports Sega Saturn. Take consideration that for some of these systems, like in GameCube or something, it doesn't even get supported by the software. And even if it gets supported, we need a lot of power for it to run it nowadays. Maybe with the Raspberry Pi 5, who will tell in the future. But for now, Sega Dreamcast, PlayStation Portable are more like the new additions to the system that you can play now very well. So the first game that we're going to try out is Atomic Wave. I have played the game in so many different ways, especially when it comes to these emulation boxes, but with the Raspberry Pi number 4 it runs very well. I'm running Sega Dreamcast just on full speed and it looks so amazing on this display. Great move, and it's a great test out the D-pad. Next up, PlayStation Portable, a system that cannot be run by many of these systems, but it is possible with the PlayStation Portable on the Game Boy Pi. Alright, so for the final test when it comes to the gaming part. Okay, so the PPSSPP emulator has been set to frame skip 1. And in my opinion makes this game playable. You can see like it doesn't run on the full speed. The FPS go all over the place. But I'm surprising that the Raspberry Pi inside this machine is capable of running God of War Chain of Olympus. It's just crazy if you think about it. But it's of course for you to decide if you think this is playable enough for you. I think it's a really cool addition that you can play God of War. So if you can run God of War, we can play a lot of great games. Okay guys, so I'm just going to be honest, I'm a big fan of LCL and what he's doing over there. in China, because these devices are like really cool premium DIY products, because they are just making them themselves, and I can see that he is improving it every single time he is getting a device out there in the wild. So this is the Raspberry Pi 4. I reviewed a couple of these devices from him, and he just surprised me, and in my opinion he finally done it. This is in my opinion the best Game Boy you can get with this combination of the Raspberry Pi 4. This is just a really cool way you can switch out the cartridges. Like for example, you can have Recall Box and RetroPie on it. You can switch between the cartridges and you both have like different configurations. And overall, the Game Boy Pi, you can see like it weighs almost the same like the original Game Boy Classic. And again, I'm a big fan of the Game Boy Classic, and for me this is like the ultimate handheld. And if I'm going to make a top 5 or top 10 in the future, we will see here on the channel. So consider subscribing, hit the bell, become one of the Wicked family. And maybe this device will come back in my top 10. I think it will, even in the jungle of handhelds. And I will see you in the next video.